Welcome back to Mind Creates Muscle. Um, yeah, just welcome back. Ready to get this episode going. Spent some time. I know this episode is coming in a day late. I spent some time kind of really thinking about what I wanted to do for this next one. So, um, let's uh let's just hop into it. All this week I've been so we're on break right now. All this week I've been kind of thinking about what my next semester is going to look like, or what's next for me in terms of academics and just life in general. And a theme that I kept coming back to, and I actually dove into some scripture and started reading and stuff, and I a theme that I kept coming back to and kept refining myself in is um, habits, and how our habits come to make us who we are and come to form um, how we live our lives and kind of affect our decision making processes and things like that. Um, I felt something was on me and was like, hey, this is what I want you to share with everyone this week. The title of this one, as you have already seen, is Creatures of Habit. So today I'm gonna kind of just be diving into um, what are some examples of some good habits? What are some things that habits provide for us us humans and us in this living experience? So kind of dive into it that way, and then kind of talk about examples of people that do have good habits, and showing the things that have come to their lives um, when thinking about those habits and how those habits have shaped them and stuff. Um, yeah, let's just go ahead and dive into it, and let's get it going. So when thinking about you know habits, everyone always automatically jumps to bad habits, right? So like, what are some bad habits? Well, like smoking cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, that kind of thing is the first thing that people kind of think of when they think of habits. But there's also, like, sure, you can think about, those being the habits, but there's also those little small um inconsequential decisions that you make every single day that are actually habits that directly affect the way you live your life. And thinking about those habits and recognizing what those are, you can start to identify, which ones are the bad ones and which ones are the ones that actually bring value and bring um, and push you forward. So when thinking about these habits, the question is like, how can habits influence change? Like, how can your habits influence changes in your life, or changes in your marriage, changes in your relationships, changes in your academics, that type of thing, and how to come to change those bad habits. So when people think about changing a habit that they have that they deem as bad, or a habit that they just don't want in their life anymore. And this is something that's very common, with the new year and stuff. People make new year resolutions and things like that, of like habits that they want to have for the year, and then habits that they want to take out for the year. So like, people say, okay, I want to be going to the gym 3 times a week every single week this year, right? That's you introducing a new habit. Or maybe I don't want, I'm going to give up alcohol for this whole year, right? That's a habit that you're choosing to cut out. Um, but what I've come to find is when you attack it at that angle, it's a little bit harder to keep yourself disciplined to making that habit happen, or or taking that habit away and taking that habit out. So I kind of thought about it, and through my own experience, I've come to find that when wanting to get rid of a bad habit, you have to create a new habit that directly opposes the bad habit, right? So an example of this would be like, okay, say a bad habit that I have is waking up at 12 p.m. every day, right? It's a bad habit. I sleep in, right? Can't get out, can't get my day started, type thing. Say that's my bad habit, right? Well, just saying, okay, I'm gonna wake up at 8 a.m. every morning, every time, that usually, you sure, the first like 3 days might work, but in order for it to stick, you really gotta push and lean into that. And that's hard for people to do. So what I've come to find is you must create that habit that directly alters the bad habit. So in that example, instead of saying, okay, I'm gonna wake up at this time, you say, do influence a behavior that's going to influence that later on, right? So going to bed at an earlier time. So it'd be like, okay, I'm going to actively do something to change it versus, you know, trying to change it on the back end, type of thing. So when coming to change bad habits, you have to influence a good habit, right? I, you know, I eat bad foods, right? My habit is I eat out a lot, right? How do I influence of changing that bad habit? Well, I have to bring a new habit in to replace that bad habit, because we are creatures of habit, right? That's why this podcast is titled the way it is. Um, and we have to come to terms with that and know that in order to get rid of a bad habit, we have to introduce a good habit. So that's kind of it's kind of how habits can kind of influence that change within our lives, and it's a lot bigger than just that. Each decision you make every day comes to create a new habit. um, and I think that's important to recognize and important to understand as you try to improve your lifestyle or improve your mindset or your physical fitness, whatever it is. um, and when thinking about these habits and how they create change, these habits don't only create change, but habits can also create your own self-image and um, your own labels that you put upon yourself, because everyone has those internal conversations and everyone has those labels that they give themselves, right? So this is why those conversations that you're having with yourself are so important, because we have them constantly, um, all day, every day. Everyone talks to themselves, oh, I should have done this in this situation, or yeah, I woke up this morning and I look myself in the mirror and I talk to myself, and place that my own perceptions upon myself, right? And so when people do that, they tend to get lost, or things tend to start to turn negative, right? But if you can use if you can really come to find, or which I've come to find, is that habits can directly influence the way you talk to yourself and the way that you view yourself, right? um, One of the things that I've found within my life of like a habit that creates my self-image is the habit of you know working out every day and getting that physical that movement every day, right? It's become a habit for me, and through that habit I come to create my own self-worth, right? So after I complete a workout or something like that, I always feel better about myself. I always feel like that um I feel more productive, sure. That habit creates how I feel about myself throughout the day, right? So if you can make those habits, or if you can take those habits and use them to create self-worth, then you can start um, giving yourself more self-worth after you complete each habit, right? And this isn't something to say like, okay, like I'm gonna have zero self-worth if I don't go to the gym today, right? Or I'm gonna have zero self-worth if I don't wake up at this time every day, right? Or if I, you know, don't do these habits, right? Because we fall off, things like that, things change, all that kind of stuff. But I think if you want to influence change in your life, I think habits are the best place to start, because habits are the small little decisions that you know, subconsciously make every single day that once put together create your life, right? And so when talking about change and talking about, you know, changing the way you talk to yourself, or, you know, changing the way that you view yourself, I think that habits are a great place to start, because then you can actually, you know, dive in and actually take action on these little small details that will come together to form it, right? Because when you think about, okay, how do I view myself, right? That seems kind of outside, right? It's like you're out, it feels like you're distant away from it, right? You say, okay, I'm going to place this upon my own self subconscious, right? But using those habits, you can actually get inside of that, right? You can get inside and you can actually start making changes. And so recognizing how those habits can create change, I think is super important. um, Another thing that I have come to find with habits is that habits leave no room for excuses, right? So you either did it or you didn't do it, right? And this is where it becomes easy to start making those changes, is because habits leave no room for excuses. Once something's a habit, it's a habit. It happens, right? And most of the time when you have a habit, usually, especially if it's a bad habit, you know, you can make excuses for yourself, right? But the habit the one who's influence isn't the thing that's influenced the excuse, right? It's your afterthought after the fact. So when thinking about how habits leave no room for excuses, it's like, okay, did I do it or did I not do it, right? It's not, oh, say, you know, back to the example of, you know, sleeping in. Oh, I'm gonna give myself an excuse for why I slept in. Oh, I was up late studying, right? No, like the habit, it's not a habit at that point, right? If you're giving yourself excuses for it, right? It doesn't become a habit until it starts happening subconsciously, right? So creating those habits will also take down your level of making excuses for yourself within your life and the things that you want to achieve, right? So, oh, why didn't I work out today? Oh, well, you know, I had a crappy day at work. You know, I was in traffic. I got home. I was tired. You know, I didn't really feel like it today. I didn't want to go out and, work out. You know, I got to deal with all this other stuff. I got the stress on me, all that kind of stuff. Excuses, right? Excuses. And the habit hasn't been formed yet, right? That's how those excuses start to seep in. But once the habit becomes firm and it becomes, you know, what you do, and it's in your subconscious, and you don't even recognize that you're doing it anymore, like you're not actively choosing to do it, it's just the habit of, you know, yourself, then there's no room for you to make an excuse, right? So use habits, right? Create those good habits that make it that create that space where there's no excuses and stuff like that. So kind of touching on, you know, how those habits, you know, leave no room for excuses. It's the same thing with your productivity, right? If you um, create a habit for yourself of, you know, I'm gonna study, you know, for me as a student, I'm gonna study 3 times, or I'm gonna study 3 hours every single day, right? Or not even 3 hours. I'm gonna just study 30 minutes a day, right? 30 minutes a day. I'm gonna study for, you know, this test. I'm gonna study for my classes and stuff like that. It directly makes me more productive, right? If I create that habit, because then I'm actually taking action. right? This leads back into the excuses part. Is like when being productive, what's the one thing that goes against productivity? Procrastination, right? And what do we do when we procrastinate, right? We find other things to do to fill the space of what we should actually be doing, right? So an example of this is like, okay, say I have a test or something like that, or say I have an assignment that's due. I'm just using being a student as an example because it's the easiest thing to do. Say I have an assignment to do. Well, I'm gonna do this, or I'm not gonna do this assignment. I'm gonna do this because I don't feel like doing the assignment right now, right? I'm I'm not gonna do the assignment. I'm gonna go hang out with my friends and push it away until last minute, so I come back and then I have to scram to get it done, right? So procrastination is the direct opposite of productivity, and without without the productivity, we always find ourselves inside procrastination. And what can bring us back into productivity is creating habits, right? And these little, people call them side quests. People like to use that as the example now, but if you go on these little side quests of these habits that you make every single day, and these decisions you make every single day, then the productivity just seems to take care of itself, right? That I'm doing this habit. Okay, I'm moving on to the next one, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one, right? And it pushes you along and it keeps you in line. So creating those habits boosts and directly um, feeds that productivity. Um, so what when thinking about habits, um, I think that it's important to put yourself in situations and put yourself in spaces where habits can be curated and habits can be identified. If you're not in the mindset of knowing what a habit is or identifying your habits, then it's going to be hard for you to create those habits, or to try to identify those habits if you're not in that mind space. So you have to recognize yourself in those habits, and there's people that are really really good at doing this, and they're people that I've come to find is like every single successful, mogul, successful businessman, successful, influencer, successful athlete. What do they what do they all have in common? They all have habits that directly create that productivity in their life, right? So I think about a book. It's called The 5 a.m. Club, right? and and this book is about people that have a habit of waking up at 5 a.m. and how waking up at 5 a.m. directly influences their chances of success or their ability to attain success. Um, you listen to any billionaire talk, right? They always talk about using your time wisely and time management and stuff like that, and how time management has become a habit for them, and that habit of doing something so small, how that habit directly boosts their success, and how recognizing they do recognize that those are habits, and how that can make them better, right? And so when thinking about these people that are uber successful, they're super successful in any venture that they go in life. It's a common thread that they use those habits to do it, right? And a person that has come out and talked about this and has really shown that he has a good grasp upon this is Mark Cuban. I listened to a podcast he was doing, and he was talking about how um, he built this business all the way up. He didn't mention which one it was, but he built a business all the way up using habits, and then something happened to where that business completely failed, right? That business was torn down. It was a multi-million-dollar business. He said he was, super successful in it. Things were looking good, and then all of a sudden something happened, and it's gone, right? And so he didn't, of course it sucked for him, and he didn't, he didn't, he wasn't able to see the good behind it at first, but he found himself going back to his habits, and when he went back to his habits, he was able to come to terms with losing what he lost and trying to find his way to build something, again, and something better. Businessmen do this all the time. A business fails, well, then they have to pivot, they have to change, and then they have to rebuild. And what they use to rebuild is those habits that they introduced when they were building the first one, right? And so, in listening to him talk about this, he was very passionate about people, coming to find and creating those habits, right? So back to those people at the 5 a.m. club, right? Well, that habit of waking up at 5 a.m. gives them more time to take care of their health, gives them more time to spend with their family, gives them more time to actually work, gives them more time to, you know, grow their business. It gives them more time to, um, you know, do anything, right? So that time management habit that they have identified is a common theme throughout, right? And in using that principle, you can apply it to your own life, right? It doesn't even have to be, okay, I'm gonna wake up at 5 a.m. so I can be a billionaire, right? It can happen on a smaller scale, but you just have to create that habit for yourself, right? Because we are creatures of habit, and anything that you do directly feeds or a good or a bad habit, right? Um, and so I think it's important to see that there are people that identify habits as reasons for success, and once you find those people, what you want to do is surround yourself with those people, right? People always, this is back to the episode I was last episode I was talking about, keeping good company. It's like you want to surround yourself with like-minded individuals, right? So say I'm someone who's trying to create a habit of, or break a habit of smoking cigarettes, right? What's the number one group I do not want to be hanging around if that's a habit I'm trying to break? People that are smoking cigarettes, right? This is it seems like common sense, but when it boils down into actually creating or making those decisions in your life, it gets a little bit more blurry, and it's a little bit harder to see. But you must surround yourself with people that are on the same path, or people that are on the same wavelength as you, right? So that will help you achieve, or yeah, achieve your goals, but also not do it on such a grand scale, but do it in those little habits that come to create your life. And surrounding yourself with those people that have the same habits as you, that's the biggest one. Is like, how can someone who, you know wakes up at 6 a.m. hang out with someone who's waking up at 12 a.m., right? Because or not 12 a.m., but 12 p.m. Because there's no correlation, right? And nothing can be like correlated there. I'm not saying like, oh, I wake up at 12 a.m. or I wake up at 12 p.m. This guy wakes up at 5 a.m. We can't be friends, right? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like, when you surround yourself with people that do the same things as you and have the same habits as you, you directly, one, have a better relationship with that person, and two, can stay within your habits, because other people influence your habits, right? And so putting yourself in a circle of bad habits can directly be detrimental to your good habits that you do have. um, and so surrounding yourself with those like-minded individuals will help boost you forward and keep those good habits in, and also introduce better habits, right? Because we always, iron sharpens iron. We talk about it in our football program all the time, is like, surround yourself with the people that are making decisions, right? If you want to go somewhere, surround yourself with people that are going somewhere, right? Coach Haugen always likes to use that word and that example, and it's true, and it applies, and habits are an easy way to jump in that, and it's something that people can grasp easily, because it's an active decision to create a habit, or it's an active decision to to get away from a bad habit, right? And so when talking about this, um, I think it's one good to recognize, but you kind of got to see it in action, and seeing it in process. Um, so I'm gonna kind of I want to share, some habits that I have come to form that have directly influenced and created a better life for myself. Um, so I've always been, a religious person, believer in Jesus Christ, and the Lord, and I think it's important for me to be able to, touch that every single day, right? Touch that thing in my life. And so one of the habits that I've come to curate is, prayers of gratitude. Every day, as soon as I wake up in the morning, I pray, and I say, hey, I'm grateful that I've I've one, that I woke up this morning. Two, I'm grateful for the opportunity to live another day, and kind of build those, or build myself throughout the day. I'm grateful for my family and my friends that I have here. I'm grateful for all opportunities and doors that are open to me, or the doors that are coming open for me, right? I'm grateful for, um, the breakfast that I eat in the morning, right? I pray in gratitude for all these things, because gratitude is something that is deeply important to me, and creating the habit of waking up in the morning and starting my day off with gratitude, creating that habit has directly improved and boosted my life, right? It puts me in a better mood in the morning, right? I wake up in the morning and I think about all these things that I'm grateful for, and all these amazing opportunities that have been afforded to me, and all these amazing people that I have in my life. And doing that every single morning starts my day off right, right? It gets me going. It's that jet fuel that kind of pushes me into starting my day. And then after that, because of that habit, I'm in a better mood. I make better decisions. I'm able to communicate with people better. I'm just an overall better person because of the habit that I have created for myself, right? So that's one. I mean, another habit, that I've created is journaling, right? So like throughout my day, I'll just, if something really touches me or really hits me, I'll open my notes app and I'll just write it down. It could be just like random wisdom. It can be, a conversation I had with someone. It can be a situation that I witnessed, type anything like that. Just like constantly reliving and bringing back information from the experiences that I'm having, and being able to draw back on those and look back on those. It's a habit that has greatly improved my life, right? Um, I remember one time I had a conversation with one of my teammates. We were eating lunch, and I had a conversation with him, and I was like, you know, we were sharing wisdom with each other, and talking about life and things of that nature. And I was like, I don't want to, lose the things that we talked about, during that conversation, right? So as soon as that conversation was done, and we were done with that conversation, right, I went straight to my notes app, and I started writing down all the different ideas that we talked about. And then I was able to come back later and look at those and take more value from those, or be able to draw back on them in other instances and situations. So that's kind of another habit that kind of has directly improved my life. It's just like, you know, being aware of the things that are happening around me, and taking note of them and actually writing them down. Um, and so I think it's important for people to recognize those habits for themselves, and to come to form them for themselves, because they can directly boost um, the way you live your life, and they can alter and change you for the better. Or, habits are a two-edged sword, right? There's good habits, there's bad habits, right? They can change you for the better, they can change you for the worse, right? And I think it's up to you to make the decision to find those habits that directly, make your life better, and feed those habits every single day until they become a subconscious practice, right? Me praying in the morning, I don't even have to, I don't have to think about it anymore, right? It just happens. I open my eyes, and then I'm instantly, okay, I'm gonna pray, right? Gratitude, and starting my day off with that habit is something that that influences every other decision I make, right? Because these inconsequential little decisions that we make every day are the building blocks of what creates our life, right? Because you think about, okay, what is life? Life is years, right? Life is years. What makes a year? Months. What makes months? Weeks. Weeks. What makes weeks? Days. What makes days? Hours. What makes hours? Minutes, right? What did I do in this minute, right? Well, I'm doing a podcast, right? How does that minute of doing a podcast then grow into what I did for the entire day, right? Then grow into, okay, what did I do this week, right? Grow into, okay, what all did I do this month? What all did I do this year, right? And that is how you start to make change, and that's how you lay the bricks, right? Habits are the bricks that are being laid to build the house of your life, right? I made this analogy last episode of like the house and the foundation. Well, what builds the foundation, right? The people in your life, because the people in your life directly influence your habits, and your habits directly influence the things that come to make your life, right? And I think that recognizing that we are creatures of habit, and recognizing that these habits, it sounds redundant, but it is what it is, because it's common principle. It's like habits make your life, right? Habits make or break your life. And I think it's important to share that, something that I thought about all week is like, these habits that you make for yourself may seem small in the beginning, right? It may seem like such a small task in the beginning, but it's the effect that it has later on, right? It's like building a pyramid. I was listening to It's funny, I was listening to Joe Rogan. He was talking about the pyramids and how they were being built and stuff like that, and he was like talking about the precision that they had when making them. You can't even fit a piece of paper through some of the bricks, because they're just so precisely put together, and how amazing it is that's how they did it, way back when. And he said, at the bottom of the pyramid, it might not be such, an inconvenience, or be such a problem to be, um, you know, place a brick off by like centimeter, right? 2 or 3 centimeters here and there, you can wiggle with, down at the bottom of the pyramid. But if that continues and you get to the top of the pyramid, everything's going to be all messed up, right? Because things grow exponentially as you're going up, right? So that millimeter that you're off down here, eventually at the top of the pyramid could be, 20 feet, right? And so trying to use that as an analogy to think and to talk about habits, I think is important, and important to recognize, and to know. So yeah, just think about that. Think about that, and think about how, what are those habits that directly help you in your life, right? What are those habits that you might want to get rid of? And just think about that, and think about how those habits directly come to form who you are as a person, and who you are within your life, and how do those habits push you, or build you up, or tear you down, right? And so I just wanted to come on here and kind of give you a little word of wisdom there, and talk about, habits in life and stuff like that. So I want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching, listening, subscribing, liking the video. Leave a comment, like the video, share it, turn on the bell. That way you get notified every time I post. Go follow the Instagram, all socials. Follow at Mind Sea Muscle on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can go to the description, and find all the links and stuff like that to the socials. But yeah, thank you for tuning in and listening, and see you soon. Thanks.